So Wizard's Tower seems to be a map that's not played very much, and I think the reason is because it takes longer. I found that my average runtime was around 20 minutes, which is about 5 minutes longer than a quicker map like Horn or Enemy Below, although obviously this map can be done faster. So there are items to the left of the door, but I don't go after them. I figure if my team wants them, they can get them. I was using the Great Axe for these runs, which I'm very unfamiliar with. So usually a horde comes right here, but this time I hear the ogre. So instead of going to the right like I usually do after this time I go left because I want to fight the ogre right here in this open area. But then by the time I turn around, I noticed the ogre had passed us and was going straight for the witch hunter way back down there for some reason. Usually I would just climb up on the right hand side regardless of the horde, but this time when the ogre came, it really threw a wrench in my plans. So supposing the ogre wouldn't have came, this is the pathing I would have taken. Usually I drop down right here, hit the ammo box and continue, but this time I decide to check the item spawn on the right. There wasn't anything, so you jump down onto the bookshelf and then you jump on the box, but I missed the box and I ended up taking damage. So with these rats in front of me, you can see what I'm doing is I'm grouping them up so that they'll all attack at the exact same moment so I can go up and deal with them without taking any damage. You could go around the other side to this chest. I tend to go this way because my pubs are going to usually stop by for that ammo and health anyway. So by the time I grab the chest and backtrack, my pubs have usually caught up with me. Now you can go left and grab the tome through the wall, but usually I don't because usually you're gonna have pubs that are gonna want to get this ammo and health anyways. And since it's 2 guaranteed healths and a guaranteed full box, it's not that bad of a drop anyway. I had planned to heal my bots, but they didn't teleport to me, so I gave up on them. Now usually I grab the chest and then I grab the Grim, but since I only have bots, I don't worry about it. I just get the Grim first. You can hold up where the ammo box is if you're a noob and you like to spam True Flight. If it's up to me, I'll just fight near the door. That way I don't have to walk across the room. I'm already sitting there waiting. It's not like these waves are really that much of a challenge anyway. When my team does decide to hold here, I'll stay at the base of the stairs like this. I leave before the thing comes all the way down. When it hits the bottom, another horde comes, but I don't wait for that. I just keep going. You can grab that chest from below, but I don't really find that necessary. Now I go for the chest on the left first just because it's closer. Now don't forget this chest off to the left. There's also a full ammo box in this area. I go for the chests prior to the Grims because there's 2 chests here and the tome, and sometimes you'll find a patrol in this spot, in which case then I'll just switch and go Grim first. In this instance, I didn't notice it that my other player has went and gone the Grim by himself. I don't recommend doing that, not by yourself at least. If you want to split up during this part, that's totally fine, but I would not go by myself because if anything was to happen to him after he got the Grim would just be lost, and that would be quite frustrating to lose it for no reason. I prefer to jump on the chest and then jump back on the right hand side as opposed to the left hand side. If your team is low on health, there's a guaranteed health right down that hallway. Note that when your screen flashes and it transitions, make sure you're holding block so that you're not getting hit by something you can't see in that moment. A horde is very common here as well. Don't go out in the middle and don't get surrounded here. In this run, you can see there aren't very many trash rats, so I don't worry about kind of going in the middle and being a little bit aggressive. Note that there are always rats on the other side of this door, which I took precautions. I was blocking and I pushed, but they were outside of my push range and they were able to hit me anyway. So there's a chest on the low ground and a chest on the high ground. I usually go for the low ground, then the high ground, then I do the event. You could go for the high ground first because a lot of your pubs are gonna go up there, but I don't worry about it that much. By this point, you know if you've got both loot die or not. Now, when it comes to where to hold out in this event, I like to hold out down here. A lot of people like to stay up top, but you're gonna come down anyway for when the rats start attacking the wards, so I don't see why you should stay up there when you could just stay down here this whole time instead of moving. I don't like to hold up top in general in areas like that because in places where the rats climb up, that means they're gonna attack you in a very staggered formation, and staggered formations are bad. The reason staggered formations are bad is because when rats initiate their charge attack, they will clip through each other. So a rat in the back that you cannot see will start a charge attack and he will clip through the rats in the front, and something that you couldn't have seen will suddenly attack you, and that will disrupt your flow of combat, you'll take damage, etc. I would try to fight all the rats clumped up. That's why you'll notice whenever there's a horde, I advance into the rats. I don't back away from the rats. I don't stay on my ground. I'm always moving forward towards the rats. The reason is because I don't want these charge attacks to happen. The charge attacks are what are dangerous. And I find that when you're up there on the top, you're going to be pushing rats, you're going to be doing this, you're going to be doing that, you're going to be doing your combat, but the rats are always going to attack you one at a time. And the one in the back is always going to have a risk of doing a charge attack on you because you can't stagger them while they're in their climbing animation. So sure, it's like shooting fish in a barrel where they're climbing up defenseless and they're not really a threat to you, but once they get up, they're just going to trickle in one at a time, and I think that's more dangerous than being able to group them all up and to bunch them up as a horde, because then once they're bunched up, then you can circle around them and deal with them a lot easier and more efficiently, I think. Another danger up there is storm vermin. If you get a storm vermin to come up there, especially on Cataclysm, that can cause you a lot of problems because he can push you off and things like that. I do value having an escape plan, and up there you do have an easy escape to just jump off, but I still prefer being downstairs. Being down at the wards, you still have plenty of room to maneuver. You have plenty of decent choke points. Rats come behind you periodically, but I don't think that's a problem because you're always going to hear it happen before it happens. And most of the specials will also come from behind you, but I think that's a good thing because you almost always know exactly where they are and exactly where they're going to come out. I'm not trying to say that you have to hold at the bottom, I'm just trying to explain why I prefer to stay there instead of being up top. The last wave I find to be is usually the hardest. I usually save my bomb for the last wave if I can. And be careful here if someone is low health or something because there are still rats that you'll have to fight. I find often that teams will just barely survive the event and then on their way to their cart, the last few rats, they'll get careless, they'll make mistakes, and they'll die for stupid reasons. I had one run where we had our Grim Carrier was in gray health. The guy just started walking around trying to slay these rats and naturally took a hit and lost the Grim due to his carelessness. Don't do that. There's no reason to throw away your team's chance at a red because you didn't have the self-control to hold block for 30 seconds. So that was Wizard's Tower. I hope you enjoyed it. This was honestly kind of a terrible run. The only reason I even picked this run is because I rolled a 7 at the end. I made a lot of very poor gameplay decisions because this was only my second run with the Great Axe. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was helpful.